a fourth-generation lawyer with an experience of 28 years, out of which 19 years in the UAE. Devanand Mahadeva heads the inheritance and personal law practice of the Goodwins group in UAE. He is passionate about inheritance planning for individuals and succession planning of business with a vast experience in the inheritance laws of various regions and religions, including the Sharia. A member of the International Bar Association, he qualified himself in law from the Government Law College Madurai, specializing in taxation and pursuing his passion of managing people with post graduation in human resources and small industries management. A speaker, elocutionist, debater in English, Tamil, and Malayalam from his school and college days has developed him into a speaker and a trainer at various platforms in different parts of the world on varying topics of law, inheritance planning, legal compliance, managing people in the legal, financial services, and insurance industry, and people motivation. He is better known in the community for conducting a weekly legal help show known as Mastermind in Tamil FM 89.4 radio channel in the UAE. He is an avid traveler, adventure rider, off-road driving enthusiast, and a vintage classic car collector. He is also active member of various organizations as the Human Resources Forum Dubai, member of BNI, Gazelles chapter Dubai, and ambassador of BNI, Insomanics chapter Dubai, off-road marshal and former chairman of ME Off-Road Club Dubai, and honorary member of the Rotary Club of Aurangabad West, Rotary International District 3132, India. And I'm so happy to invite him here as we are the young minds who was inspired by his way of admiration and his speech during our organization event meet and summit Rotatia. And happy to see you here, Mr. Devanand sir. And the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Yes, we are going to talk today about team management and how to manage a team. I'll just run you through a little slide presentation. In the meantime, I will tell you some experiences and stories so that it makes it a little more entertaining or interactive than just monotonously telling you technicalities of what team management. I'm not going into technicalities. I'm just want to share how practically we can be better team managers. And I've been told that we are addressing here a group of professors, assistant professors, lecturers. You're all academicians. And interestingly, I will share some academic experiences too along with you. Now, let me share the screen. So that's our topic for today. And you must be wondering, a director of a law corporation, how does it end up? But of course, lawyers also do have interest in people management and managing teams. Of course, I do manage a team of 24 staff here in the UAE. And it comes through dealing with various organizations as such. Now, coming to team management, what we talk about. This is what we want to discuss today, how we can motivate ourselves and motivate other team members to work towards a greater good of the project you take up or the goal you want to achieve with the available resources as such, and while keeping the balance of our own lifestyle. Because what happens is that many of us get overwhelmed with our work, our teams, and then we lose out on various other things in life. And the balancing is very important. I will deal with that also in one of the slides about balancing it. Now, going further, I just want you to look at this picture. Something for you to think over. Of course, it'll be lovely to be a little more interactive, but something for you to think over. What do you find here? You find a guy with a bow and arrow, a tribal, or a military guy with a wonderful gun. What are they trying to do here? They're trying to, in simple terms, they're trying to hunt. That is what they're trying to do here. And move from this, they are trying to hunt what is there, maybe animals, birds, etc., and eat out of it. And that is how our ancient people were, our ancestors were. They did hunt what was available or what is available in the nature, and they ate and enjoyed it. But let's go to the next level of our civilization, from Indus Valley to Mesopotamia, or whatever it is, we may call it, ancient this thing. All of you being educationists, you will have had your history lessons. What you find here is in these picture is where the evolution changed from hunting to cultivation, isn't it? Of course, a traditional cultivation with oxes, as well as using tractors, a more modern version of cultivation. Now, what do we see as a difference in this? In a situation of hunting, what is happening is we are trying to use the existing resources, and we are eating out of it. Where in cultivation, we are using the existing resources, but we are building the resources out of it. We are cultivating and enjoying it so that it becomes what we call renewable. As we call renewable energy, renewable food, this becomes renewable. We don't exhaust our resources. Like in a hunting, in a cultivation, we don't exhaust the resources. That is what the humankind has mastered over these civilizations. So when you look at these pictures, what we understand is team management is not only using what you have or exhausting it. Team management is all about developing teams or developing people so that you become a better leader, you become a better human being, and you go on developing the future generations so that the world goes on, or the legacy goes on, if you look at it that way. Now, this is what happens. You have to be doing this, be a part of a team. Of course, I took a picture from the latest scenario of how we are managing. Okay, you have a bunch of medical professionals in their coveralls, working as a team, trying to get over the challenging times of today. And then a leader comes out of the whole thing. A leader develops out of this whole team, and he starts leading them. So that is where the managing the team comes in. And it's vice versa. The team leader has to manage a team so that the team, more leaders get developed out of that particular team. So this is what, in simple terms, what happens in a team management. Now going to a little technicality of how we can have essential leadership skills. Of course, these are various things which we require as a leader. One is the communication, how we communicate with people. It is not just the language, it is also how you communicate, how you make them feel. There is always a way of giving negative communication, and there is always a way of giving a positive communication. So I remember in younger days, I used to have a good friend of mine when I was in school. He used to wear all these fancy, colorful dresses, which is esteemed father never approved of, because he was looking, in current terms, if you say, off the hook language, He looked like a punk, wearing all these colorful dresses. And his father used to stand outside his house, and he used to, stand around. And when he's getting ready and getting out, his father used to say, son, oh, you look lovely. You look very colorful. Um, and this guy is very happy. Okay, father is appreciating. Then he tells him, son, but doesn't it look a little bright? You look handsome, beautiful. You're my son, but doesn't it look a uh, little too bright? So why don't you wear something sober? So this is the feedback he used to give. He never shunned his son, saying that what you're doing is wrong. What he did is he said, yeah, you're right, but it will be better among for other people to look at. Uh, it will be better. So that is what he was, the esteemed father. Far more wisdom with him. He used to communicate with his son. I used to admire how he did that. So, and the other one is motivation. You have to motivate your team. You have to have them on the go. Unless you become a great team leader, your team is not going to be a great team. So you have to motivate. I would say a person has to motivate through example, how they are doing things. And of course, positivity is very important. Like I told you about this friend's father, you have to look at positively. Give them always a positive feedback. And then whatever you have to say, insert. So it's always excellent, but we can do this a little better. And always encourage creativity, because we don't know everything. We have a lot of blind spots. So always allow other youngsters, other people to organize, bring in their own creativity, bring in their own interest. In this, I would like to share a couple of stories. Of course, one is a story from esteemed Abdul Kalam ji, and one story is my own personal story. That's going to be a little longer story. Abdul Kalam's G's story, Dr. Abdul Kalam, one of the interesting stories which I have found about him is that, of course, he's a phenomenon by himself. But one of the stories which I have come across about him is that he, one day, what happened, scientists were all busy with a project of one of the scientific innovations of India, sending a rocket up or sending a satellite launching vehicle. And one of his scientists comes to him and says, I need to leave by 5:30 in the evening because I have to take my children for an exhibition. Abdul Kalam ji says, yeah, why not? Please, you have to spend time with your family. And he tells them, and then the scientist gets busy, Abdul Kalam ji gets busy. At 5:30, he looks around and he sees the scientist is still busy. And he's engrossed in his work. And then by 8:30, the scientist realizes that, oh God, I have been so engrossed with my work, I forgot to take my children to the exhibition. So he rushes home to, mend the ways, not to disappoint the children. He rushes home, and his wife says, and the children are not at home. And he asks his wife, what happened? Where are the children? He says, oh, your boss came in and he took the children to the exhibition. And then, of course, justification of Abdul Kalam ji, imagine he doesn't understand children otherwise because he's a bachelor man, never had children of his own. And his justification was, you are very busy with your work, but your children should not get disappointed. So I took them out. So he has done a couple of things. One is he has motivated his worker, and his scientist is going to be absolutely fond of him. Just a little gesture out of the way. And the other side of it is his family is going to respect his boss, and his whole family is going to work for this project. If this scientist doesn't come home on time, they are not going to, hey, you have a very good boss, so you better go and work. So it's a wonderful thing. So it's a wonderful story of Dr. Abdul Kalam. office experiences in life. And something else which I want to share of managing a team as few professors. I have a background of teaching. I used to live in the government of, I used to live in the Maldives from 1995 to 2000. And it's going to be a little of a bit of a long story. And I used to work for the government, and I used to be involved in the training and retraining of the manpower in different organizations, including the training of judges, training of teachers, training of management graduates. And one of the main institution in the Maldives, a small country of 3 lakh people at that time, even today it's about 5 lakh odd people. And one of the institutions which they called Science Education Center. You know, being a small country, they had multiple schools in different islands, and this Science Education Center was the only institution where the cream la cream of the high school graduates, I mean, people who have finished their 10th class, came in for their 11th and 12th. They followed the British syllabus, so they did London A levels. So this institution taught students to do their London A levels, and that was the only institution. So about 200 students a year were selected from various schools who got the top results in their London O level exams, and they were brought into this institution absolutely free of cost. It's a government run institution, absolutely free of cost. They were educated, trained, and they were later, when they finished 12th, they didn't have any higher education institution beyond that, except teacher training, small level things later. But at that time, they used to, then that cream la cream got scholarships to go abroad and study medicine, engineering, or law, or whatever it is. But their further degrees, everything they studied from this institution. So my involvement was, I was teaching business studies and law for these A-level students. You know, A-level has varying subjects. British curriculum has about 54 different subjects for A-level. So one of the subjects which I taught was law, the other subject was business studies. And what happened, there was a bit of a challenge. One day, the principal, who happened to be my senior, I grew up in the Maldives, so who was my senior in school, he was the principal, and he comes to me and he says, Deva, you know, we have a situation in this country. I said, what happened? You know, this education system is not meeting the requirement of this country, because we need more people who are commercially oriented and more people into humanities, because our main industry is shipping and tourism, where most of the students in this institution are coming and studying physics, chemistry, biology. So what do we do for this? I mean, it's a major challenge. I mean, this physics, chemistry, biology is not allowing them to do well in their career when they finish their 12th and go into government service or go to work, even if they don't go in for their further degrees with scholarships from the government, because that only the cream la cream goes. The rest of them have to finish their 12th and go into working. So it's not helping them. So what do we do? I said, let's look at it differently. Let's change it. So he said, do you want a team of people, you know, who can go and, you know, promote commerce and humanities or business and humanities subjects? I said, no, let's do it differently. Let's think outside the box. And the first thing which we did outside the box was, we had only about 21 commerce and business and accounting students, and we had about 4 or 5 humanities students who were doing history, geography, political science, and all those things. And we gathered these students whom I was teaching to, and then we got them. Okay, we said, let's do a trip, because Maldives being a very small island nation, they don't know anything what happens outside the world. And those days there were no Googles, and Uncle Google and Grandfather Wikipedia was not so easily available to people, or computers were not easily available to people. So what happened was, we said, okay, let's go for a trip. And the nearest place to go to trip is India. So let's go to the south of India. So we organized a trip. So when we started organizing a trip, of course, I was summoned to the office of the minister. I was summoned to the office of the minister, and I'm told that the slides are not changing. No, I've kept it in this slide. if it is okay. If somebody can give me a feedback. Okay. Let me just redo the share. Yeah. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, yes, now you.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes. Hold on. Till now, the PPT has not.
You can see it now?
Yes, yes, now we can. We all.
You can see it moving?
Sir, no, sir. It's not visible.
Vishnu, can you share it?
Yes, yes. Do you want us to share now?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Anyway, let me get on with my story while Vishnu is trying to share it. So what happened? I get summoned to the office of the Minister of Education. Remember, it's a very small country. And he asked me, I heard that you're trying to organize a trip to India. I said, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get these students to get a little engaged, organize themselves, form a team and do it. And he said, I don't think it is possible. We don't have the financials for it. And plus, I mean, this is too big a project which you're trying to do. I said, you know, it's a little too big a project, but I think I can pull it through as a team. So are you having anybody else to support you? I said, no, nobody else. I'm just using the students to support me. Anyway, let me try to, but I'm not very favorable to it, but then I'll leave it for the time being. And then my principal, this institution's principal also came along and he said, no, sir, I will take guarantee of it. Because ultimately I'm a foreigner and they are Maldivians. And who got together and they said they will, sir, we will spearhead this and we will raise the money, sir. Very enthusiastic. Interesting places now. One is a head of the head of HR of the main communication company, the main telecom company in the Maldives now. One is an auditor general. One is the head of customs. You know, it starts from the school or college days. So business people to go to India for a trip of these 25 students. And we did a trip to India, educational trip. These kids never even have seen a bus to visit the chair and transport corporation.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. Yeah.
So now it is visible.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to change the slides accordingly.
I can change it? No,
go. You have the control of it. Hello.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Control of it, sir. You can change it. Am I right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay,
That's
thank
what
you.
happens. Technology just evades older people like us. Yeah. So we go visiting different industries in India, in the south, including places like HMT, CFTRI, Titan in Hosur, in various industries. And then we went to Madurai. We went visited a couple of TVS factories, and then to Maldives after 2 weeks of trip. Different TV in the local newspaper that 25 students and students remember business trip. 3 months for encouraging. We have something called a Comfest, Commerce Festival. Comfest, again, various competitions related to business, accounting, all those subjects, like accounts, accounting issue, and things like that. Had it for over 3 days on evenings, and the rest have commerce students. And we raised thing, of course, to make it more economical, we imported all these awards from India, being the nearest country and cheaper to buy. All these things happened, and next year we repeated the same activity with the next India. Now we had this Comfest where we could have. When these 2 years happened, I and intake of 200 students, so there were 25 students who were in commerce and in humanities. In the year 2000, 120 students were business, accounting, and humanities students. We have turned the whole way the country thought, with doing something very different, not exactly anything education or trying to promote education. We showed the fun in education. We had a team working on it, and it was just team of 16, 17, and how a bus company ran, how a tire was made, or we even went to CFTRI where they do food research. They had no idea of these things. They didn't have any exposure in a small country like that. But everything changed with these youngsters, and they changed the destiny. This group of team of these youngsters changed the destiny of that country. And most of those people who have been part of these teams are now Auditor General. I've had these students who have become Attorney General, Auditor General, Finance Minister, the Education Minister, or even the Tourism Minister. So the whole dynamics of the country changed. So it is not just thinking in terms of team and going through. I wanted to share this because it was a story of a teacher in me, and it was just, I'm addressing to a group of professors and teachers here. So that is what I wanted to share, this little story of personal story of mine, where we could change the way the whole country thought, the way the whole students thought of their future, and the way the whole parental community thought of what is happening in this country or with their careers. And if you look at statistics, Maldives has the highest divorce rate in the world. Their social system is pretty skewed that way. In the 5 years I was there were 15,000 marriages and 9,000 divorces um, in record. It has a very high rate of divorce where people just divorce for this thing. So many of these students came from a lot of disturbed families, broken families, a lot of disturbed families, father married again, mother married again, and all those things. So we had a sociological challenge. In spite of all that, we could bring them into a team and we could get these teenagers to work and we could get them to do things. And I'm sure as professors and lecturers, you are dealing with such younger generation, such young people who can be motivated great. So you being a head of the department of your this thing, of course, managing teachers is a different issue. Managing your lecturers or assistant professors, that is a different matter altogether. That's more of managing good and managing egos. But ultimately, whom you have to manage is your team of students. When you look at that, you have to look at them differently. You have to look at them differently when you look at them when you have to manage. That is your team. These students are your team. Get them motivated, get them positive, get proper feedback, have a communication line with them, and have enough creativity. Allow them to be creative. Allow them to be independent. Come up with something new. In that way, they would appreciate you down the lane. I have taught these 5 batches of students. I'm very, very happy that all these 5 batches of students keep in touch with me even today. They keep in touch on and off. I get messages, how are you, sir? How are you keeping? Because the number of law students I taught were very less. Number of business students I taught were large. So I was called the business sir. So they always address me as business sir, and they always keep in touch, so that you make a difference in the lives of your students, because that is ultimately your team, isn't it? I always tell, coming to the next slide, something very important in team management. One is, of course, training. That is what we are in, isn't it? All of you are in that aspect of training. And you have to see that you're flexible when you're training. You have to understand things. You have to work around things when you deal with your training of your youngsters. And you have to delegate to them. You don't have to do all the things. You can delegate. I remember when my son was in school, of course, he went to a British curriculum school in Dubai. And there were 56 different nationalities in that school, of course. That is how Dubai is. And I had no idea how many nationalities were in my son's class. Maybe about 15, 20 in a class of 20, 25 students. And once when I went to the parents teachers meeting, and this teacher was telling me, every teacher was very happy with him. They said, yeah, he's a wonderful child, and he does well in studies, and he does everything, all the activities he does well. And then I met the computer teacher, and the computer teacher was all complaints about him. So I was wondering, all the other teachers like him. Why doesn't this computer teacher like him? So what is the issue? I said, what is the issue, madam? She said, no, he does these things fast, and he disturbs all the other children. He goes about talking, he disturbs the other children. And I have, not only him, I have another boy also who's going on disturbing the class. The girls are very docile. The boys are little mischievous. I do understand. But then these 2 boys are very mischievous. So I started asking about the other boy, what is his background? So then I realized when many of these children came from families which have so many children in the family, because especially the Arab families do have more children. My son was the only child at home. So what happened was he had access to a computer by himself. I had got him a computer and he had access and he had full time on his computer. And same thing with the other boy as well. He had only one sibling far younger to him, and he had access to a computer. Where the rest of the children were multiple children in a household, so they didn't have so much access to the computer. They must have had one computer and about 3 or 4 children sharing these computers. So what happened was they didn't have so much exposure to a computer than like this little two naughty fellows. So what happened, when they went to school, they get bored because I asked the teacher, what do you teach? So she said, I teach them this and this. What is the CPU? What is this? I mean, this was in maybe about fourth class or fifth class or whatever it is. And I teach this is what. I said, my son is absolutely bored in your class because he knows all these things. So very nice teacher. She said, what do I do, sir? So idea, of course, being a former teacher, I can give you an idea. Do something like this. Of course, handling smaller kids is far tougher. Of course, I handled only late taught people like you do teach. But then dealing with youngsters is a different ball. I would give a suggestion if you can just follow it. I mean, if you think it is good, you can follow it. She said, what? You must be having all these Excel sheets where you have to enter marks, you have to enter things, you have some personal things, which you have to do as a teacher. You have to enter various things in the computer. She said, yeah, I have loads of work which I spend, entering all these marks and things like that in the sheet. I said, give this to these two guys. Let them do it. While they're in the class, they finish what you're teaching and you leave them to do these things. Anyway, you are in a computer lab. So I ahead of times. Oh, you have a good idea, sir. I said, yeah. And then all going fine. So it always our own team around to use them in different levels, because obviously we will come across students who are at different levels. They're all in their own little trip. Of course, what I have seen basically in India is there are different types of, I don't know what sort of subjects you all teach. I'm not aware of it, but what I realize is that there are a lot of anomalies in our system. Of course, I'm not going deep into that. It's not my topic of subject today. There are things where students come for different purposes. One is their passion. The other reason is because they didn't have anything else to do, they come to do this. And the third, this particular subject, they came in. And some people came in because of the public image that they have to do this particular subject. Then only they will be accepted in the society. So for various reasons, students come into a particular course of study. So it's a 10th class. Of course, I got pretty good marks. And when I went and joined for my 11th and 12th, I did commerce, accounting, economics and things like that. Subjects. I did commerce subjects. And my mother, the lawyers, my mother was saying, why are you doing commerce? I want you to do engineering. I said, no, I want to do law. I want to study like my father and grandfather. That's my inspiration. She said, no, you should, and inspired. My uncle supported me and said, because I and my mother's brother interfered, and he said, no, he's going to study what he likes. You don't interfere. So, a teacher again. She was a teacher in the Maldives. That is how I grew up in the Maldives. And she retired as a very senior person, and she got a pension from the government of Maldives. So, what happened? I joined commerce, and then of course I wrote my Tamil Nadu entrance exam and got through my law entrance and went to a law college, government law college, etc. That's a later story. But what happened here was, when I for the past students association meeting, I met my maths teacher, and my surname and Mahadev, what are you studying? I said, Madam, I'm studying commerce, accounting, economics, commercial geography, and business communication as subjects. She said, what? You're studying? You got very good marks in your 10th. So that was the attitude of my teacher, saying that if you do these subjects, you're a dud. Because if you're good, you have to do science subjects. Those were days, but not anymore. We are past that situation. But still, there are situations of parents who run behind their children for studying, and then finally they end up studying something which they don't enjoy. So you will have people who are and studied law, took that as a practice in life. But there admission in medicine or engineering or whatever it is. And there we used to have a break system. So they used to study a 5-year course. They used to study for 7 years, 8 years. So I had some of my seniors studying with in my class because of the break system. And he says, no, when I finished law, doubt was different. He was not interested in becoming a successful lawyer. So, student. So, students who come to this particular institution or particular come. So you have to understand and become flexible with all these different viewpoints, and you have to become a team manager or a leader or the professor or the lecturer who rewards them properly. Guys who do well and guys who don't do that well, or guys who are there, as we rightly say in Hindi, naam ke vaas. So you have the whole variety, but you have to see that they're treated nicely, they're treated differently, so that they become successful individuals, not just because of the studies, but as human beings. So this is very, very important when you come into team managements, where you have to take care of how they work, how they evolve as individuals, because you are important. I always tell, in between when I was teaching, I used to teach at the Institute of Teachers Education. And something, when they come in, the first thing I tell them was, you know, you guys are far more important than a doctor. I say, sir, doctor is a far more glamorous job, and people in the current scenario, especially, people think doctors are gods. And they're very important people. I mean, they take care of us. I said, yes, but professors, lecturers, teachers, the teaching fraternity is far more important than doctors. For the basic reason, if a doctor doesn't do something right, he will ruin the health of a person. But if a teacher doesn't do something right, he will corrupt the mind of the person. Corrupting the mind of a person is far more serious than corrupting the physique of a person or physical condition of a person. So a teacher is a far more important person than a doctor. That is what I always believe, and that is how I have always preached. So a teacher is a very, very important person in managing his team. And his team not only consists of his colleagues, friends, and his department subordinates, but it involves your team of students. Treat them as a team. You will be a very, very successful professor or a lecturer than just treating them as your students and you being a professor. Involve yourself, enjoy. You will start enjoying your profession. And going further, some things to do to grow. Talk about your goals to your team and involve your team in your activities. Like I told about the computer teacher of my son, who had to involve him in her activities of being a teacher. Involve your team in your activities and talk about your goals to your team. And if you're heading a bunch of professors or bunch of assistant professors or lecturers in your department, some of you may be department heads, or some of you gradually will make to become principals of institutions. You have to set your goals right with them to manage this team and involve your team in your activities so that they buy into it. They're part of it. They feel they're also part of what you're doing. And also make it a point to reach out to your team. You know, you may have people who are very good at it. Now, this whole slide presentation, I didn't make it. I only prepared the material. I did pick up some pictures, but the whole presentation was done by one of my colleagues. She was kind enough, sir, I'll do it for you. And she did the whole presentation. All my presentation she does because she's very good at it. I'm not very good at it. I couldn't even properly screen share here. So you may not have everything in your skill. Use your team and don't feel inhibited in using your team of students. Not only your team of staff, use your team of students as well. So that is what is very important. That is what is very important. And most importantly, listen to what others have to say. Because what has happened is, in our society, we have become good talkers, good advisors. Of course, I also feel that is what I'm doing here. But then, of course, this is a different situation. And we are remote. I'm across the seas from Dubai. And would have been lovely to sit around in a room and get your feedback, what you feel about this particular situation and what is that you face as a challenge among students. It would have been lovely to do that, but thanks to the situation, we are confined to our respective spaces and we have to join in the cyberspace. The good side of cyberspace is we are able to meet across the seas, but the downside of the cyberspace is that we are unable to interact better. Of course, let me finish in some time and then let's take up some questions and let's have it a little more interactive. Most importantly, listen to what others have to say, how we can manage this team so that they are inclusive. And talking about teams, I always like to talk about, when I talk to professionals, I always like to talk about balancing the act. You know, some people, some of us get so engrossed into our professional life. We become so engrossed, we forget what is there outside and what is life. And once we finish our professional life, we are absolutely bored. We fall sick mentally and physically because we have nothing else to do in life. Because we have never ever developed anything else as an interest in our life. So, part of the team management is getting to teams which is away from your official teams, your professional teams. Get to other teams, interact with others. That is very, very important in any person's life. And something which I talk about is balancing your life with work. This is one topic which I seriously follow and seriously talk about when it comes to balancing your life with work, which is again becomes another team management in life. All of us are family leaders. We all have families, maybe spouses, children, or if you're unmarried, you have your parents, siblings. And if your spouse is not there, you still have children, grandchildren. Uh, all these family, this thing is there. So something which I always share is avoid compromising your family life when busy with work. Don't get engrossed too much into your work teams, work management, and start neglecting your family because you may in the long run you will not have the work, but you still have to have your family and your team around you, your social time. Not only family, of course, I have mentioned family here, but then it's not only family, your family, friends, your social life. So it is very important as leaders in your own life, you have to take charge of your life. It is not leading always is life. You have to take care of rest of it. Before, of course, starting from teaching, moving from teaching, before becoming an entrepreneur myself and setting up my own legal practice, I call it the mid-age crisis. Age of 40, you reach, you want to be on your own and you set up on your own. So that is what happened. Before that, I was an in-house lawyer. I was a head of legal compliance in HR. So I was managing people as well as the legal compliance for financial services industry. Very busy job. But that was the time when my son was growing. We were a young family of husband and wife and one child. And my wife is also a busy professional. And what happened? Son was growing. I had to spend time with family. So the discipline was, I used to get to office. My son used to go to school at 6:30 in the morning. His school bus comes to pick him up at 6:30. I immediately after putting him in the bus, I only personally go and put him in the bus personally. And because my wife is busy at work, you know, preparing the food and getting ready things and things like that. And I get out of the house immediately after that, drive to office, and by 6:45, 6:50, I'm in the office. I start work early. Exactly at 5 o'clock in the evening, I leave office. Whatever comes or goes. Even if my MD comes and says, Dave, can we have a meeting now? I say, boss, no. 5 o'clock, I leave. Let's meet tomorrow. That's the end of story. Very disciplined. 5 o'clock, I leave. I go home and spend time with my son. Not only my son, I used to collect children from my friends' children too, because they were very busy with their work. I used to pick them up and We used to go out to the park and, I allowed them to play and things like that. So my son had a little team of social life among my friends' children. So what happens is that family life, when I look back, it feels very nice because now my son doesn't have time for me. I don't have time for him. I have climbed up in the ladder being being a lawyer. So I spend more time at work and he spends more time in his studies because he's graduating next month as a lawyer, as the 5th generation lawyer, and he's in one of the national law universities. And you all know what national university is about. Getting in there is a major challenge with a CLAT entrance exam, and then going through the whole rigmarole. They drill you to the bit, and so they become really busy. That 5 years in a national law university can be really grueling, and he's busy. He spends 1 week every 6 months with me. That is what I get. Me and my wife, we get only that much time with him. So when he was there, we could spend time. Now we are busy with our profession. He's busy himself. Now when he graduates, he will get busy being a young lawyer. So now there is no point in regretting, saying that, okay, I didn't spend much time with my child, or the child didn't spend much time with the parents. So it's very important. So your team at home, again, I'm coming back to the team. Your team at home is very important. Not only the team at work or your team of students, but your team at home is very important. So never use work as an excuse for doing anything else in life. So, and we all have 24 hours in a day. Plan your time and keep your life very simple. Which is I admire the Westerners for that. I don't admire Westerners for various other things. I don't approve of various things, but something which I approve of the Westerners is their discipline in life. Is that they get to work on time, they leave work on time, they finish work on time, and they have their personal time or their family time. They take it very seriously. Where in the subcontinent, we don't do that. We find it very difficult to balance our teams in the office and the team at home. So the team at home management is also very important. Of course, that is what we call work-life balance. So try to balance it and manage the team at home. Never miss those wonderful opportunities of attending weddings, attending ceremonies, family ceremonies, attending religious festivals. Don't miss out on that. Of course, now you know the value of it because we are missing on most of it. Weddings cancelled, no temple festivals, no nothing. Now, of course, we all understand what we missed. When it was available, we didn't do it. When it was available, we didn't travel. When it was available, we didn't go to the festival. And now we are confined into our households. Or, of course, I get to come to office. I travel up and down between office and home, nothing else. And now we understand the value. Our generation has been taught a hard lesson, value of what we had to have done in our lives and what we have to look forward to. The world is going to change, or the world is already changed the way it is working, isn't it? So you enjoy all that social this thing, enjoy the team of social life, enjoy the team of your family, enjoy the team of your festivals. Attending a festival is also a team situation. Going to a temple and pulling the chariot in the temple festival. Yeah, it's a nice team activity, isn't it? So these are all what you do as a team. Going to the church and singing choir. It's a team activity, isn't it? Going on a Friday to pray at the mosque. None of these things are allowed these days. It's a team activity. You're doing as a team. Isn't it? So this is what we have to enjoy. We have to balance the teams everywhere. It's not only your work. It's not only your students. It's not only your family. It's not only your social teams or your social life, your organizations. It's very important to manage these teams to work in the top notch. Going further, some things to ponder when you're managing your teams. Train and make others grow along with you. Very, very important lesson in team management. Always develop people around you to become like you. Then only you will grow yourself further. I had a very interesting principal, Professor J. Paul. He just passed away a few months back at a ripe age. But 30 years back, he was our principal of the Government Law College in Madurai. Wonderful man. We call him the Evidence Paul because he had a doctorate in evidence law of evidence. And he used to, when he's in a nice mood, he used to support us big time because he was also a law student, and he did all his mischiefs as a law student. So he didn't understand law students were up to mischiefs. Of course, those days, even today, to some extent, these law colleges are considered to be the main political arenas or the most dangerous place you can manage. Some of the professors dread to come and teach in law colleges those days. So we are very politically oriented students, we were. And he was a principal of one of those most challenging government law colleges. And one of the lessons he used to tell us, when we hang around in the corridors of the college, he used to call us to his room, and he used to say, guys, come to my room. So he will sit in his wonderful table and chair, and we'll all be standing. Yes, sir. So with all due respect. So our Professor Evidence Paul will tell us some wisdoms. He will share some wisdom. And one of the things which affected me in that wisdom, and still we respected, and of course a few months back we presented all our condolences. He passed away in the Americas, and we conveyed our condolences to him because of these wisdoms, not because we didn't remember him for anything else. And one of the wisdom he gave when I was a young law student was, young men, like young men and women, like we were a bunch of students who were hanging around in the corridors. He was telling, you want to become a principal like me, guys, you have to study really hard, get at least a first class, go and do your LLM, and then maybe an MPhil, PhD, then you'll end up like a principal like me. You have to really work hard, study hard. You want to end up as a professor in this law college or a full-time professor? Yes, you still have to work hard. May not be a doctorate, at least an MPhil you need, and you need to get admission to your master's LLM. And those days we had only government law colleges, no private colleges like today, or no these fancy national law universities those days. And then he tells us that you want to get into the corporate world as an in-house lawyer? Yes, again, work hard, have very good marks. Maybe you do your corporate law LLM, or you do maybe an MBA to add yourself. That is what I ended up doing. MBA, and then to get admission to MBA, you have to have very high marks in law. So work hard. You have to work hard. But you want to be a successful lawyer, you just scrape through. You just scrape through from college, but be street smart. You have to be street smart to be a successful lawyer, not academically smart. That is the advice which affected us big time, that particular wisdom which he shared as a principal of a law college. And the wisdom which we carried with us. 28 years of in this profession, of this legal profession, from practicing law in India to teaching law in the Maldives, or doing work for various resorts, or doing work for the Attorney General's department, doing contracts, working as an in-house lawyer, to legal practice again. In these 28 years, not a single client of mine, I have 2,000 odd clients in UAE now, not a single client of mine has come and asked me, sir, what class did you get in your law degree? Whether first class, second class, or third class? Or did you get a distinction in law? Not a single client of mine has come and asked me, what did I get? The only thing they know is I'm a lawyer. That's it. So this is what life is all about. It is how street smart, how successful your students are, than how academically savvy. Yeah, if they have to become professors, yes, they have to be academically savvy, to work through the system. But if they have to become great human beings, successful people, they have to be more street smart than academically challenging. Not that I left out in the academics, of course, because I want to do an MBA, so I did study really hard. Got a rank 2 in the Madurai Kamaraj University to a law degree. But then it is how each person takes. And I see a lot of guys who studied with those guides, but who became street smart, have even become high court judges now. So there you are. So that is how it works. So when you have enjoyed something good, talk about it and make others enjoy the same. Share it. It's very important as in team management. When you're part of a team, when you're a team leader or even a team member, if you have enjoyed something good, share with others. You will become a great team member. It's not only having a food in a nice restaurant or meeting a good doctor for a consultation. All these good things which you enjoy, share with others so that they also enjoy the same and make others grow with you. And most importantly, a successful leader is the person with a successful successor. A person is successful leader is the person with a successful successor. If you have climbed up the ladder, if you're in that position where you're a head of the department or you're a professor of the department, groom others. When they grow, you also grow further. You go up the pedestal. So encourage, develop them. When you develop your youngsters, when you develop others, you will become the bigger leader. That is how any leader in this world has climbed up. Whether it is the positive leaders like Dr. Abdul Kalam, to negative leaders like Adolf Hitler. He did have trained colonels under him to fight a whole war and take over almost the whole of Europe. So whether it's positive or negative, these leaders, what you will understand is they had people whom they developed along with them so that they had successful successors, not the negative ones. We didn't want them to have successful successors. So we shunned them. But when it comes to positive leaders, yes, we wanted those positive leaders. And we allowed them to become bigger, become better. And that is how the history went on. That is how the big leaders, the great leaders left successes, successful successes, isn't it? Because even if you look at kingdoms of kings of those days, they are the very good examples. The kingdoms which left successful successors, like Rajaraja Solan had Rajendra Solan, isn't it? Or Humayun had Akbar. But when they didn't have successful successors, when Shah Jahan got distracted from his building of successful successors, Aurangzeb paved the way for the downfall, the gradual downfall of the Mughal Empire, which was a massive, massive empire, one of the most successful empires. When Shah Jahan couldn't groom a proper successful successor, Aurangzeb was successful himself, but on a lot of blood. And that started the downfall of the empire. And the rest of them were just academic history. So this is what is very important. We learn from history, we learn from our own lives, we learn from around. So this is what I would like to share today on team building, team management. I hope it was helpful to all of you, that I could share some wisdom of mine or something which I have learned in life with you, so that you can think a little outside the box and become successful leaders in your profession, in your home, in your society, and anywhere around you. Is what enjoy and lead your team to look at yourself globally. Become a global citizen, look at yourself globally, and enjoy leading your team. Wish you all the best in your team management, and wish you all the best, all success in your life as managing your teams, or being part of a team and being a team player. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you so much for your patient hearing. Over to you, Vishnu.
Thank you so much. Participants, is there any question? Can we have a discussion forum right now? Dear participants,
Sir, it's been a nice session and is very instrumental. Thank you for the presentation, sir.
Thank you, Rachuri.
I'm Rajita.
Yeah, Rajita Rachuri. Yeah, I see your name.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It's been very informative.
Sir, your presentation was extraordinary with your life experiences and the wisdom you have it. Always team management, the word usually people talk only about management of teams at workplace. But it was wonderful to hear from your end about the team management in so many different places. Thank you so much. So can you please throw some light on some one or two team members who are very indifferent and not interested in any work that is assigned to them? So what can be done with such people? How to handle them?
Yes, very, very interesting question. Some of them not part of the team, and indifferent, and they're not ready to take up work. Yes, in all our teams, we do find these challenges. Negatively, you may call black sheeps, but positively, I will call them, they are different. So, like I was explaining about this computer class of my son, you have to identify what ticks them. Have a one-to-one with them and find out what is that they enjoy. What is that they don't enjoy about this profession? It can be a situation where they are sort of forced into this team or forced into this situation. That is the reason they don't have this interest in the whole um, project or the whole system. They don't want to do work because they don't enjoy it. So because of that, they are going to have a little challenging time. And you're going to have a challenging time as a team leader because these guys are not going to, because they're all part of the cog in the wheel. And if they don't do, the others also get affected. The whole team gets affected. So I think you have to have a one-to-one, sit with them and understand what is not exactly their problem. What is that interests them and what is that they don't like about this job? About what is given to them, what is that they don't like and what is that they like to do. So use them that way. Use them in that particular area of activity, so that you will bring the positive out of them, because all human beings, irrespective of what they are, they have their positive side and the negative side. So we have to understand, maybe we are always targeting towards their negative side. We are not looking at their positive side. I'm not saying all human beings are perfect. None of us are perfect. All of us have our anomalies. Personally, if you ask me what is the most thing I hate about teaching, is I love teaching. The most thing I hate about teaching is, hats off to you people being teachers, is that, going through all those exam papers, reading through all the answers. Of course, you get a lot of cock and bull stories in the answer scripts, but then reading through all that and saying what is right and what is wrong, that is one of the biggest challenges of teaching. Never liked it. That is something which I didn't enjoy. Otherwise, I would have loved to continue in the teaching profession. But you do enjoy something, you don't enjoy something. So get to them and understand what is that they like. A one-to-one will help.
Sir, a question.
Yeah.
I have seen a video recently in which like it talks about team management and team manager.
Yeah.
So in that video, the team manager is saying that in case a person doesn't support the team and is working on contrary, that person should be stripped off after educating him on what he is actually doing. Is that true, sir?
But that person has to be
Is to be stripped off, stripped away from the team.
stripped away from the team. Okay, that is an extreme step. That is an extreme step when you cannot work around as a team member and when he's not fitting into it. Obviously, you may have to give an ultimatum of shape up or ship out.
Okay.
Personally, even I have. Or because it may be good for them in a way, because for your team, but they may be a good fit for another team. It is like students who are being forced to come and study. At one point of time, studying medicine or engineering was the only thing to do, and parents always insisted on students studying, if they don't get medicine, to go and study engineering. And we had now what has happened? We don't have takers for those engineering colleges because we have overwhelmed ourselves with engineering graduates. So what is happening is, when you have students who are forced into that sort of a situation, gradually you have to advise them and treat them, and you have to ship them out. I think they will do better without being part of that team. Okay, I was talking about a student here, but even in your team members, sometimes you have to go to the extreme step. I did tell the earlier time to work on it individually and work on the team. But if that doesn't work, the next plan B, if you may call it, the plan B has to be ship them out. It'll do good to them. I'm sure it'll do good to them. You don't have to feel bad about it. I have never personally felt bad about it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Please.
And
Good
thank you
afternoon.
for your nice and lucid lecture, sir, on a very important time nowadays on team management.
Yeah.
Sir, please, would you draw some light on my doubt?
Yeah.
A team manager cannot please all the persons at all the time. Would you please say something on this, sir?
A team manager cannot be all the person all the time, is it?
Cannot please
Please all the
busy.
people. Oh, yes.
At all the times.
You know, one of the something enlightening it was. Uh, you know, if you're working in a team, there are three types of people who you will have in your team as a person, even if you're a team member or a team leader. There are three types of people you will have. One is the team members who will adore you. They will love you to bits. They adore you as a team leader. Or a third of them will not like you at all. Whatever. And the one, they don't like you, they don't dislike you, they don't mind you. You're fine. I mean, you're a nice guy. Okay. That's how they take it. So this is the three type of people you will find in any team if you're a team leader or a team member. The rest of the team members or the team leaders, one third will not like you. And you cannot be pleasing all of them. You try to please everybody, you end up displeasing all of them. So don't try to please people. Get on with things. Ultimately, what is the target, what matters is important. Communicate well, be a good leader, but whether they like your ways or not, because there are different types of leadership. I didn't deal with those things because those are all theoretical stuff. You know, you will get it everywhere. Umpteen number of sessions you must have attended as esteemed, educated people, but these different types of, you know, dictatorship, democratic, and all those things. So I'm not talking about these types of leadership and things like that. I'm talking about the team, how you can manage is that you cannot please everybody. And don't ever try to please everybody. If you try to please everybody, you will end up displeasing everybody. So never try.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Nice
you,
day,
Doctor.
sir.
Thank
Okay.
you for the question. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
That was a wonderful session. I just have one doubt.
Yes.
So, I've seen a few of my colleagues who will be like, if my higher up knows that I'm good on this, then they'll dump that work on me. So, how do you get to manage such kind of people?
Very, very interesting question, Ms. Rajni. You know, see, when the higher up gets to know that you're good at it, they dump it on you. Yeah, it's like me preparing these slides to my colleague in the office because she's good at it. Yeah. Yes. Be proud of that because. Be proud of it. See, I'll tell you a personal law. I extremely specialize it, and what happens is that even my competitor law firms refer, because they don't deal in personal law, they deal only in commercial laws. They refer law family disputes. They refer them to me. In spite firm we also do corporate commercial, but if in spite of that these guys refer them to me because you're good at it or you specialize it. So be proud, but enroll, I told you, build successors. Enroll your fellow team members, train them to be as good as you so that you can spread the work. That is how you can work smart. But obviously, if you're good at it, they're going to send work at you. So enjoy it. Enjoy. Prepare your team members to help you. That is the best you can do.
Thank
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, it is a very inspiring and informative session.
Yes, thank you.
So there are people who try to hand over their responsibilities to others in the team. How to handle them, sir?
Yeah, these are the experts who pass the buck, isn't it? They don't want to do it themselves because they're lazy about doing it. And situation where they dump the work on others and they try to take it cool. But what you have to understand is on the long run, these guys are not going to reach anywhere because you're going to get the brownie points, not him. Only thing, you get the credits for it. Guys, created a work and he or she is dumping the work at you, and you are that you have done the work, not the other person. And in the due course of time, it may cause will fall because these people don't survive. These sort of people who pass the buck don't survive in this world. And you will show that to your bosses or to your colleagues that you're the one who did it. That's very important.
Certainly, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. I think we have 2 more minutes left, Vishnu.
Yes, yes. Participants, is there any more questions to be discussed over here? And we have one question posted by the person there.
Yeah.
There are people who try to hand over their responsibilities to others in the team. How to handle them? That is what she have asked that.
Yeah,
One second.
I did.
Yeah. There is another one question.
Yeah.
The team manager cannot please all the people. That too you have answered. So everything is been answered, I think so.
Yeah, I have answered that also.
Yes, you have answered that also. So the participants, is there any more questions to be discussed over here?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Just one little query, sir. May I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes.
Sir, when the team manager comes up more practically and he is implying discipline in his team, then he may get some problems, sir. Without discipline, the team manager just cannot run his team effectively. And
Definitely.
there are some rule breakers. So at this time, the condition would be very critical. Then what to do and how to deal with such conditions, sir, in our day-to-day life?
All the teams will have where the kids become mischievous, not follow the rules at home, or your students who don't follow the rules in the college or school, or your fellow members who don't follow the same rules. Rule break is there in this world. Lawyers are there because there are rule breakers. So rule breakers are get over it successfully. So that is what, like I told earlier, you have to take these rule breakers separately on a one-to-one, and What is their problem of breaking the rules? And there in time, but I would like to share a little incident. I to come late to the class, and I used to come late to the class. I Nothing personal between him and me, but he has a personal challenge. That is the reason I'm allowing him to come late to the class. So the students didn't understand, and got a distinction in the subject which I was teaching, where he didn't get distinction in any other subjects. And why it was is because I was flexible with him. I was understanding towards him. And the problem with this young man, and he used to come for classes, and he has to finish the bank work for the shop. He does all the bank work. So morning he has to do the bank work for the shop, and then he has to go home, change into his uniform, and then come and he goes. Every day this is what happens, and that is how he comes late to the class. And I flexible with him in that particular point. And sir, you are being very lenient. I said other students to look at him, okay, this guy has to work really hard, to come and this thing. I didn't want him to have a stigma, but understand why I gave that flexibility and how he got a distinction. And this guy made the difference. I got a distinction in this subject. So you may have to understand what is their problem, why they're not following the discipline.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I have overshot the time also. Vishnu, over to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Is there any questions, participants?
Or anyway.
The voice is breaking, sir.
Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And it's a great session where with the personal experiences and the things that with transaction theory of leadership, transformational theory of leadership, explained to it. Really thank you for being here, and I just welcome Mr. Koteeswaran, Head English Department of to propose voting.
Thank you, Vishnu. Most distinguished speaker of the day, dear participants, it is a great privilege for me to express warm and sincere thanks on behalf of International Journal of Advanced and Research Work, Durva Academy of Research, International and Educational Institution, Department of English Literature SF, Nallamuthu Gounder Mahalingam College, and Wisdom Educational Consultancy. The chief guest, the team management through his knowledge and ideas. Our hope is that today's session not only break new ground in terms of content, but also break the ice in various sectors. Please join me to express the heartfelt thanks to dear Devanand sir for his wonderful presentation, who spared his time for us amidst of his busy schedule. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anand.